Hey, yo, friends. Thank you very much for joining us for another special episode of In Madness Pod. Man, I don't, what is, 33.5, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Shawn the Butcher here with Vertebrae33 is In Madness Pod. How's it going?
What's going on, Shawn? Yeah, I know the numbers are starting to confuse
I mean,
us.
that's kind of the purpose, is like to make ourselves and everyone else angry about the numbering system.
Yeah, I think we got to get into fractions eventually, or more stuff behind the decimal point, and just really mess people up.
Thank you for joining the premier podcast, In Madness Pod, on the socials at In Madness Pod. Hit us in the mail sack. We will read your email on air eventually. Next time we dip into the sack, inmadnesspod@gmail.com. We are on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, give us the 5-star reviews. Check out the In Madness Spotify playlist, which is just absolutely on fire. We recently added the Gojira performance from the Olympics. Was not available at the time we recorded our 0.5 and talked about them because it just wasn't on the streaming services yet, and it was recently added, so it is now on the In Madness Spotify playlist, along with the symphony from V for Vendetta. What is it, 1812 Overture?
Yes.
And Judgment Night soundtrack stuff, the Crow soundtrack, anything we have mentioned in any of these previous episodes. Check out the In Madness Spotify playlist. Happy In Madness Monday, if that's when you're listening. Do your boys a favor. Tell everybody you know about this podcast. We get some very touching messages in our DMs saying that you love this show, and it restores our faith in humanity. So thank you for your positive words of encouragement. Spread the madness. Tell everyone you know about it, and tell everyone you know to also send us positive words of encouragement, because it helps us as well. And if you want an amazing In Madness shirt, go to inmadness.com. Assorted sizes, assorted colors, assorted artwork, all done by Vertebrae33. Thank you for pulling those together. Do you have a special mug for this 33.5 episode?
So it's hard to pull a mug in for 0.5, but for this
half a mug,
this episode, and I'll explain this. You can see these lions on the front and on the back. It says wrestling and coffee, because it's the 10th anniversary of Black and Brave Wrestling School. So my buddies run Black and Brave Wrestling School, and I've done artwork for them since they started, and they're good friends of mine, and you should check it out. And we did 10th anniversary merch for them that's out right now, a bunch of hoodies, shirts, and they got a mug, Shawn. They put the artwork that I did on a mug, so I got to get that mug, you know, I need one bad. And so anyway, that I figured I would do that one for this episode. I'm glad you mentioned the shirts too, because somebody had said to me recently, they were like, "Oh, you guys should make sure you plug the shirts more. Plug the shirts more." So I was like, "Okay, we'll plug the shirts more, no problem." But
twice in every episode, it's bookended on every episode. They must not be listening to the bookends. They must be hitting that 15. They're like, too much shite.
But yeah. I appreciate anyone listening. This episode is curated by a listener, right, Shawn?
Yes. So I was going to say, do you want to get into our special episode, or do you want to get into your plugs first? You want to wait to save the plugs for the very end? Do you want to do the plugs in the beginning?
Let's do that at the end. Let's get into it.
So this was a very cool idea. Thank you for, even like I said, any positive words of encouragement, or most importantly, your participation. For anyone who has sent us a message on our socials, for anyone who has emailed us, it has helped spring some ideas. One of the questions we were asked, it might have been by Tom Henderson, it might have been by somebody else in our email, I can't remember, but somebody asked, what was our favorite bad movie? Now, if I can tell you the turmoil that I had Vertebrae in over these past couple of days, asking, what's your favorite bad movie? And him saying, I don't consider any of them bad. They're all good to me. And I'm like, you have to separate yourself from the love of this movie. There's movies I love that everybody I talk to, I'm like, dude, this movie? And they're like, sucked. And I'm like, What are you? So most of the movies. So the question was brought up, and we were so stumped by the question. It was a couple of point fives ago, and we were just dumbfounded. We're like, all of a sudden, our brains are moving, and it's like Lucy inside of our brains, and we're like, we will definitely address this in a future point five. So we took a little time. Thank you for if you joined us for our first 3-part episode for V for Vendetta for Vertebrae33's special episode. A lot of people were like, I didn't really know this movie, a little too political for me, whatever. But I was like, you just got to appreciate the story and the time and the era and the book. I got to reread the graphic novel again. It was so cool. Shout outs to Alan Moore. That's what another one. I'm making this as a mental note in this episode. I brought it up to you in text. I think I want to just do an Alan Moore 0.5 where we just like worship all things Alan Moore, because in the episode you were saying he created all these things that I love: Watchmen, From Hell, and V for Vendetta. And I just want to talk about things he's done and how they have influenced me in my life. But thank you if you joined us for our V for Vendetta episode. But for our 0.5 for this 33.5, me and Vertebrae are going to do our best to highlight movies that we love that are bad. Now, I don't know what the statistics for a bad movie. Are we going by like Rotten Tomatoes scores? But
I don't know.
I don't trust
I don't
that
know
either.
So this was so hard for me, Shawn. This was so difficult for me because, I'm going to say it. It's going to sound really snobby, but like, I don't like bad movies, It's how it goes. But what I did was I sort of thought about any movies that I like that are on. When they're on, I'll watch them almost like it's a guilty pleasure, right? So it might not be something you bring up to other people. One of them is going to embarrass me a lot. So I didn't tell you that, but so I figure I have two, and you know what? When I got into it, I thought of other ones, but I have two, a newer one and an older one, and I don't know, how many do you have?
So just for reference, I was like, how do I do this? So I went through all the movies I own. I have a little spindle of all my DVDs. I went through our In Madness Pod movie list that we created on day one for all the movies we want to cover. I went through all the movies that we have already covered. And then my other two bases were, like I said, movies that I would be like, yo, this movie, and people would be like, ugh. And my most important basis was movies that I've brought up to you that you're like, ugh, what? Those are definitely included. So I have a list of about 10 movies.
Oh my God. I had two. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first time in the history of this podcast that I did not do my homework.
No,
And
the
not only
fact
did
that you had
Shawn do his
two,
homework,
I'm
but
very
he
happy.
did extra credit.
So I
So
was just
Shawn's
sitting
kissing up
here.
to the
I
teacher.
was just like sitting around thinking, and I'm like, oh, I love this movie. And I'm like, oh, everybody hates this movie. So I'm definitely putting it down. So I think you're going to disagree with a lot of these. You're going to be like, that's not a bad movie at all. But some of
Okay.
them you're going to be like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So since I only have two,
Go.
let's go through yours. We'll do like 5 yours, then I'll
Okay.
do my
Okay.
two, and then we'll finish off with the other 5. I'm
So
super
what
excited.
sparked this was 0.5 Godzilla vs. Megalon. Personal favorite movie of mine. It's been with me since my childhood. I have Megalon toys all throughout my room. It's just classic to me. So that's what sparked it. We got an email about that episode asking what are more of our favorite bad movies. And again, I'm like, Godzilla vs. Megalon, not a bad movie. So I would just have to say probably like all of those Godzilla movies, most of them. I haven't honestly watched all the guys. I'm the Godzilla guy, and I have not seen every Godzilla movie. But there are so many that are amazing. The Godzilla Megalon, the Terror of Mechagodzilla. But again, I don't consider these bad movies. I think they are very good movies. So, with that being said, I'll get into what I think aside from all of the other Godzilla movies.
Right.
But what did you think? Godzilla Megalon, is that a I mean, it was batshit crazy, but was it a bad movie?
So I think like when you name these movies and when you say Godzilla versus Megalon, then we should put it. You should put a sound effect in it that goes wah wah
No way. I
wah.
refuse. No way. That was a great
Or
movie.
maybe it's applause. Maybe it's like an applause for your pick. But uh listen, I don't like to be negative. You know that. So what people enjoy, they enjoy. So that's fine with me. I don't get into what the masses think are bad movies. That's part of the reason why this was so difficult for me, is because you just didn't want to be negative on something, because there's some stuff that's like they are really really bad movies, but then I don't really like them.
Speaking of sound effects, one of my
Hmm.
favorite sound effects is the dog off the leash. Because if anybody's vertebrae doesn't like to be negative.
I don't,
However,
but
unless we're talking about things like Exorcist Believer
oh,
or the Crow, which is just getting shat on by literally everyone. I had a buddy who
hmm
saw it and we were in the middle of conversation. He's like, "Wait, did you see The Crow?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "I did." I'm like, "What? Why?" And he's like,
yeah,
I want you to sit down and listen to me tell you everything I hated about this movie." And I'm like, I wouldn't have to if you didn't go see it, you know? Like,
right,
so
right.
yeah, he just shat all over the movie and then it's all over like TikTok and Instagram and
Because
everything.
some of them just cut to my core. So like Godzilla doesn't hurt me. Like it's
Yes.
besides the first one, they all get really hokey, and then and I think that's what people are really into. What, and they love it, and they saw it when they were a kid on Saturday afternoons, and then like a creature double feature or something like that, and they fell in love with it. So you can't take that away from people for sure, but that's the point of this episode, right? People have a love for things that other people might not,
So
so let's
most
hear it.
importantly, not only me and Vertebrae, I want to know your favorite bad movies on the socials. Please tag us at In Madness Pod, inmadnesspod@gmail.com, or in the comments of any of our posts. I want to know your favorite bad movies. I'll get into it though. Ready? The original Mortal Kombat movie.
Mm.
One of my favorites of all time. I will watch it over and over and over again, and it is consistently crapped on by everybody I talk to about it.
Yeah, all right. I don't yeah, fine, that's fine. I'm not
I
going to criticize you
I
on
think
that
it's
one.
from 1990. I don't remember it was from the 90s, the Mortal Kombat. But however, did you see any of the sequels to those?
No.
They're
No.
atrocious.
Mm.
And so then I'm like, okay, like these are bad movies. Like the first movie is so completely different than everything that came after it. And I'm like, this is a genuinely good movie. The rest of these are garbage, but everyone treats the first one like it's all the
Mm.
sequels. And I'm like, I don't understand it. Cause like
Didn't they just make one?
yes, and I liked it, and then my buddy was like, "No, no, 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 no. Here's everything that was wrong with the movie," and I'm like, "No."
Oh,
I'm a
I
sucker.
actually maybe add that to my list because I saw that and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, see this. I knew this was going to be a difficult episode.
Yeah, yeah, I enjoyed it. I listen. It's not in my. If you said movies that people hate and ones you love, it's not one that I love. But
Oh, I
like
love
when
it.
I watched it, it didn't make me angry afterwards. There's a
It
couple movies that have made me angry after I watched them. I won't name them, but they've really just angered me in a lot of ways. And you think like there's 2 hours of my life I'll never get back again but I'm going to say because it doesn't hit you like when this movie hits you a certain way. Hey, you should
Man,
enjoy it.
I was Mortal Kombat had just come out. I was a young teenage male. I was playing the game. The movie came out. I'm like, this is sick. I was
Hmm.
just like totally entrenched in it, but people still crap on it to this day. But since we're talking about it, now that I'm thinking about it, the Mortal Kombat movie soundtrack is incredible. It's got
Hmm.
that bam, 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 bam. Mortal Kombat, great song. Maybe I should add that to the In Madness playlist. And
There you go.
Fear Factory. Oh man, what is the name of the Fear Factory? Zero Signal is on the Mortal Kombat soundtrack. Amazing song. I'm going to
Hmm.
add that to the In Madness plays. Okay, good. So I'm glad you liked Mortal Kombat. If you're
Okay.
listening, I want to know what you thought of the Mortal Kombat movie from the 90s. I love everything the Mortal Kombat do. They do a bunch of animation things on like Netflix and like
Hmm.
Tubi, whatever. They're all like entertaining. They're all great. So I'm a sucker for Mortal Kombat. Always have been, always will be. Ready? Next movie. This
Yes,
is
I'm
for
excited.
you. This is for you. I love this movie. It is a annual watch for me. Shout outs to director Rob Zombie. House of a Thousand Corpses.
Wah, wah, wah.
I okay, so here's the deal. I not all of his movies are great, but it's all right. I feel like he's got a couple of, base hits, a couple of touchdowns, a couple of somethings. I feel like House of a Thousand Corpses, it's a very digestible watch because I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right?
Hmm.
And House of a Thousand Corpses is just Texas Chainsaw Massacre in black lights and glow in the dark.
Hmm.
However, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is so difficult to watch because
Yes.
it's
Yep.
just horror and torture and screaming. But House of a Thousand Corpses is like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but with like candy and
Hmm.
like cotton candy and like popcorn and like it's fun and like I
It's torturous in other ways.
yeah. Listen,
Uh,
the acting isn't perfect. It's not great, but again, so in comparison, Mortal Kombat movie, great. Mortal Kombat predecessor movies afterwards, not great. I feel
mhm.
like House of a Thousand Corpses, great movie. And I know there's Devil's Rejects. I didn't love Devil's Rejects as much as I like House of a Thousand Corpses, but like he's put out some very not good movies after that. And I get that. Like you can see those as not good movies, but like House of a Thousand Corpses is just straight up, I feel like an enjoyable, good movie. But I know it's not one of your favorites.
You saw me turn the lights up in my shadow gallery over here for
It's
this
just your
one.
anger.
It's just my anger. It's heating me up. Yes, I'm not a Rob Zombie film fan, and I am loosely a Rob Zombie music fan. Loosely.
More of
I
a White
think
Zombie or a Rob Zombie guy?
yeah, I mean I think like the first White Zombie album, which I don't know if that was their first one, but like, what is it, Thunder Kiss, whatever, 65 with that album. I think everybody was into. I just think he turns all his movies into something that feels the same. And listen, he was supposed to make a Broad Street Bullies Philadelphia Flyers hockey film at one point, and I was all open to it because I was very curious if that would happen. I'm a Flyers fan; I'd love to see it, but I don't think that happened. But that's one of the things. There are two things that bother people when I say them out loud, and I'm going to say them now. They're going to hear them both on this podcast, and everybody is going to hate me, and they're never going to tune in again. And I'm going to lose my horror card and my metal card at the same time. You ready? Not a fan of Rob Zombie films. Hated what he did with the Halloween films. Couldn't hate him any more than I did. And I do not like Judas Priest.
The band?
Yes.
You just put them on blast
I
completely?
just put him on blast. Not into him. Though, but what I'm saying is, those are two things that whenever I say those things, I get the same reaction from people. Got nothing against them, but I've metalheads will scoff. How could you not? And then they'll start discussing albums with me and giving me a lecture about what I should and shouldn't like. And so those are the two things. So the Rob Zombie is a very common discussion that comes up. I think innately people probably think like I would like it.
He seems to fit right in your art, art,
Full disclosure, I did two T-shirts for
which is
Rob
cool.
Zombie,
Which is cool.
so it's fine. I don't dislike the man, but I'm not necessarily into his films because I think it's a lot of, like, I think Quentin Tarantino wears his influences on his sleeve, and he's sort of open about movies that he's borrowing from or using. But then I think he puts a really, really cool spin on any of the material, that's influenced by other stuff. And I don't like the spin that Rob Zombie puts on his stuff.
Understandable.
So
It's not for everybody. It's just a
yeah,
movie that I love, that I get that reaction from. I mean, you. So I had to bring it up.
yeah, me. I'm sure everyone else is like, yeah, of course. This
No,
is
no, it's a copy. Like people will be like, "Oh, just watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre," but it's like it's hard. I'll do one more, and then I want to hear one of yours. Okay.
okay. Here we go.
A movie that I love. I love. I own it on DVD. I have it on our list. I want to do it one day. But like nobody shows it any love. Horror comedy, Idle Hands, with Devon Sawa and Jessica Alba and Seth Rogen. Seth Green. Seth Green. Seth Rogen's the stoner. That guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Seth Green is the one from Robot Chicken, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Seth Green and the kid who was Fulton in The Mighty Ducks. I don't know his
Mm.
name.
So
Um
I've never seen this movie.
it's so a lot of people either haven't or it's so good. Offspring is in it. The singer of Offspring gets killed in the movie. He gets his head ripped off. Dude,
Mm.
such a good movie. I bring it up all the time. People are like, "What? What?" Do not sleep on Idle Hands. It is a classic. It is an
Okay.
absolute horror classic. I feel we should cover it soon. Just a goofy movie, very funny. I love it. I watch it every year. It is very well done. It's like a 90s flick to the core. It's just so, I don't know if it came out in 90s or 2000s, but it feels very 90s. It's just so good. It's so funny. Seth Green is like a zombie or whatever, and he's got some very funny lines.
Mm.
Just a great movie. If you have not seen Idle Hands, IDLE Hands, Idle Hands of the Devil's Playground. Great, great, great movie.
Give me one more. Come on, Shawn. Let's go.
Okay,
One
you
more.
want another
One more.
one? I
Mm-hmm.
did this one for you too.
Oh, here we go. Merry Christmas to me.
13 Ghosts.
I never saw it.
So the second I sent it to, I think I recommended it, and your exact response was, "Ugh, Matthew Lillard." And I was like,
Yeah,
"No."
I think I remember you sending it to me, and then I was like, oh, okay, I never saw it. Let me quickly watch the trailer. This was in our infancy here with the podcast, Shawn. I have canceled a few films. One famously after you had taken a whole ton of notes for it. I think 2 films did I cancel?
One.
One, just one.
You
Okay.
but you
Well, I
you
shot.
text you texted me before we started Evil Dead Rise.
Yes. So Evil Dead Rise, I did. I was like, oh, maybe we'll do that. I really like the Evil Dead movies, and then I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. So we got out of that one. But wow, give me another one. Give me another one.
You want another one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I'll just say this one. Because I don't I mean, this might be partially for you as well. Fire in the Sky.
I liked Fire in the Sky.
So
I enjoyed it.
yeah. So I mean, mainly the one part. I remember the rest of it just being like a campy,
Yes.
sort of, and
But
like you
there's
said,
a
after
charm to
school
that. And I
special.
think,
So
yeah,
I don't think it's a bad movie, but again, when I bring up Fire in the Sky, it was I think one of our more popular episodes.
it
But I
was.
still feel
Yeah.
like the outside world does not pay it the respect I feel like it deserves. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I just feel like people don't put enough respect on its name.
Maybe it was that drawing, that diagram that they drew of their motorcycle shop or whatever it was. What was
T
it?
and M&T Motors.
Yeah, T Motors. All right, I'll give you one, Shawn.
Yes,
I don't know if
please.
you've even seen this movie, but an old movie, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. So that is the sequel to Planet of the Apes. So you get the Planet of the Apes, you get Charlton Heston, right? This amazing film. It's based off a French book. Everybody's in love with this film. Then for the sequel, Heston doesn't want to do it. So he just is cameo in the beginning, disappears. They got to chase him down. And you get a nuclear bomb. You get these telepathic mutants This movie is insane. You need to watch this movie. This movie
Okay.
is insane. And anytime I bring it up to people, they get really angry at me. Not as angry as if you said you like the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes, but they still get angry. Like beneath the Planet of the Apes, I think people are coming around to it. You know how like Halloween 3, people when it first came out were really against it. You start coming around, you realize, okay, well, like for me, I like Halloween 1 a lot, and 3 is probably like my next favorite of those films.
I
So
think that's the perfect candidate right there because
right.
again, a lot of people would say that that is a bad movie, but
Yeah, I mean,
you
you need to
love
go
it.
out of your way to watch Beneath the Planet of the Apes. And you got to remember when you watch it that the paying public just recently saw it, or before the original, and you've got this huge cultural influence, and it's Academy Award nominated for the special effects and Charlton Heston, and then somebody decides, let's just go insane, let's have these face peeling mutants with this nuclear bomb, and they're like worshiping it. There's like all these like upside down crosses in this one scene, like it's like in the background, in the architecture, it's like built in. I have a Mondo poster of it actually,
You
because
really love this movie.
I do. You need to see it. You're probably going to hate it and not find it enjoyable, but it is so weird. It is so weird.
I like that we learned about a new movie. I've got another one.
Okay.
Um, I mean, again, I don't consider it a bad movie, but not everybody loves it. It gets a lot of shit sometimes. The Blair Witch Project.
Hmm. Interesting.
I love the Blair Witch Project, the hype that was around it, the hype that surrounded it. Again, I was a young teenager. I had just started going to see like horror films in the theater, and like everybody was talking about this movie. And at that time, there was no real social media. So you thought this actually happened because you'd never seen the kids, the actors anywhere ever. The ending was, it still haunts me till this day. I can watch this movie 1,000 times, and those last 3 seconds, the hair on my arm stands up. But there's the classic Family Guy bit where Peter is like blind and he's in the movie theater, and Brian, the dog, is explaining Blair Witch to him as it's happening, and he's like, "Nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. The movie's over." Everybody looks really pissed off. And I'm like, no, that is not what happened in theaters. Everybody was stoked about it. I remember everybody clearing out of the theater like, oh my God, like freaking out. But again, I know it's not everybody's favorite movie.
Yeah, I think it's getting love now. Listen, I bought into the hype, and I wanted to love it. I saw it in the theater, and when I initially saw it, I didn't like it at all. And then I saw it later on, and I kind of liked it more. And then you dig down and try to do some of that research, because they built so much stuff around this. I have not seen that movie in at least 20 years. I would say, 15. When did it come out?
I mean, if you give me
Or
30 seconds, I
90
can look it
some,
up.
but yeah, so it's like over 20 years. I'd be curious. I know I saw that Arrow is putting out, I think it's Arrow, or no, maybe Shout Factory, somebody's putting out like a special edition of it. And I think it's starting, if you haven't been paying attention, Sean, the 90s are back in for everybody. So
1999 was Blair
yeah,
Witch.
yeah, so now if at the 90s came back in, and everybody's jeans got big again, and they got flannel
It
shirts out
was
of
the
nowhere.
best era. That was my era. The 90s was my era. I'm telling you, everything was better. The music, the movies, it was all about the 90s, baby.
You just, ladies and gentlemen, and it's the second time I'm saying ladies and gentlemen on here, but you just witnessed Sean getting old before your very
I
eyes. My
mean,
time was the best
yeah,
time ever.
what back in my day? You kidding me? The music these
Yeah.
kids are listening to now, garbage.
Bread was a nickel.
Yeah, it was. It
I
was.
love the music I'm listening to now. I love now better than back in the day.
I mean,
I like now.
you know what,
I,
you know what it is now. There's so much music that I love now. What it was discovering it. First
yes.
discovering like Metallica and
Right.
Pantera and Sepultura. It's like, oh, there's this whole world. But now I'm just been like in this world forever, so I'm just totally like jaded by it, I guess.
Don't worry. There's at least a dozen black metal bands that I can turn you on to that you haven't listened to yet, Sean. You can discover them along with me.
Give me one of yours.
Give me another one.
No,
Give me
I got
another
two
one.
more. I got
I
two
only
more.
got
You
two
give me
more.
one.
I only have one more. This is the where we lose all listeners on this podcast. So, this movie, divisive film, fairly recent movie. Everyone crapped all over it. Then they released a different extended version of it. There was campaigns online to release this certain cut of this film. Everybody had to see it because
What
of
the
this
what
cut,
is this?
and it's Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, 3 hours, 3.5 hours, 4
So
hours.
here's the thing. I'm gonna the caveat attached to this is I did not go to the movies. Obviously, if you listen to any of these episodes of the podcast, most of the time I don't go to the movies. So it finally comes out on HBO Max. What's the hype? Got to watch it. I watched it, the Snyder cut, over a period of a couple days, like almost like it's a TV show. And there's so much jibber jabber, so much standing around talking. And you know how much I love standing around talking, explaining stuff. And then they put it in black and white. So it's a bunch of and the special effects don't look as bad when it's in black and white. There's no way for me to enjoy this film. It's shocking. I'm not a fan of the Batfleck at all, but for some reason, if this movie's on, I'll watch it. Like it's like a weird thing. Like I get sucked in that, it's, there's Amy Adams is in, thinks she's in the Batman versus Superman one, that one too. Like I'll watch it. It's absurd. It doesn't make a lot of sense. There's fights that end because people have their moms have the same names, right? It's silly. It's really silly. Batman's in Batman versus Superman. He's working out to fight Superman. Like working out's not going to do anything. That doesn't matter. It's just it's got movie logic sprinkled all over it. But for some reason, I will watch it. And then the black and white one I was into. And I will say, and no one can argue with this, it has a fantastic score. The score is incredible. And there's Mondo put out a box set on vinyl, which I don't have, which I should get, but it's a box set, so it's more money. But the score is fantastic, and there's this ballady song that's on in the beginning, which we got to put on the playlist, that if you listen to it, it's gonna guaranteed to make you cry. Maybe we'll play that song at Comic-Con this year. Maybe I'll play that song. We'll make
Right
everyone around us
before Whitney
cry.
Houston.
Yeah, we'll play that first, and then it will make everybody cry. But so there it is. I've admitted that on a recorded podcast that I
I'm
enjoyed
proud of you.
watching Zack
I'm glad
Snyder's
I
Justice
learned
League.
about two movies that you love that are hated by most people on the planet.
Yeah, but what's weird is that movie people got angry, right? There was a campaign we released the Snyder cut, and those people were obnoxious online, and the people who hated it were obnoxious online, and it was. I just sat back and like watched this little war go on, and then when I
Mhm.
actually watched it, watch it over a period of couple. I don't think I could sit and watch it all 3 hours at once. I
No.
think by middle of the movie, I think I'd be like, please turn this off. But in digestible bits of like a half hour at a time, like some just kind of weird TV show. Like I liked Gotham when they had that TV show, and a lot of people didn't like that. But
I
but
started
yeah,
off liking it, and then towards the second, third, I don't know. I was like, "What the hell is going?" I totally lost interest.
yeah. So I consider that some people, like what they consider maybe, silly movies in a lot of ways. So that's mine. That's my big
Good
disclosure.
shit. That's awesome. Thank you
This
for
is when
sharing.
Tom Henderson never writes us in again because he's
No,
going to be
shout
so
out to Tom Henderson.
disappointed.
He's a good dude. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
I got two more.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready.
One of the most controversial episodes of In Madness Pod, Lucy. I
You make me love
love
you.
Lucy. Lucy, you got some explaining to do. I love that movie, and everybody shits all over.
So now it's funny, Sean. I have a lot of love for that movie
Good,
after we did
good.
it. I mean, listen, I thought Scarlett Johansson was great in it, and it was in Morgan Freeman. I think it's, you know, I just had fun picking apart their movie logic. That's all. But if it's on, I would watch it. If it showed
It's
up on something, I would
so
watch it.
good. Even when we did the episode, people were like, great podcast, not the best movie. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't
Mm,
get it.
mm.
It's such a brilliant concept. Your brain opens, you open your mind, you have powers. Why not? Why not? She should be a Marvel villain. She's the equivalent of a Marvel villain with her own, I mean a Marvel hero with her own movie. Like
She is a Marvel hero with her own movie.
was well not
Black
as
Widow.
Black Widow as I think Lucy is 1,000 times cooler of a character than Black Widow.
What? That is the most controversial take in the history of the Inmads. But
I
this
think
episode's
so.
going to get a lot of listens.
I
Listen,
don't know.
tell us if you agree with Shawn. Tell us if you agree.
Yeah. Who's a cooler superhero, Black Widow or Lucy? I'm saying Lucy all the way.
Black Widow.
I don't know. Let us know
All right.
on the socials at InMadnessPod or InMadnessPod@gmail.com. Okay, I got one more.
I'm so excited for this. Here we go. Drum roll.
I absolutely love this movie. I have it on DVD. It's got the regular theater cut. It's got the director's extended cut. I sat here and watched it. I mean, not even a month ago, back to back, just comparing and contrasting the two. I have loved this movie since the day I saw it. It was the very first Alien movie I ever saw. I brought it up on this podcast before. I saw the movies in completely ridiculous order. Alien 3.
Love that
I
movie.
adore that movie. And I, aside from you and me, have never heard another person say a good thing about it. I was
So
just
it's
I was just with somebody and they're like, "Oh, that atrocious pile." And I'm like, "Atrocious pile?" I'm like, "What movie did you watch?" It
so
angers me. It angers me.
don't let it anger you. I'm going to tell you that movie is starting to get more and more love from people. They released kind of a comic that came out, which was the original version of the screenplay, and people are starting to get into it more and more. And listen, I haven't seen Alien Romulus yet. You have seen Alien Romulus. I
6.5.
I have read the spoilers because it was going to be spoiled for me anyway, because now the new thing is to put spoilers in the title of your article on Twitter. So you see it right away. Um, that
I
being said,
literally want to murder people when that happens.
he's just kidding, by the way. He's
No,
just kidding.
no
He's
yes, sure,
yeah, yeah,
yes, yeah.
yeah.
I
On
not
social media.
literally want to murder people.
Yeah, yeah. Figuratively, he'd like to
I
murder them.
figuratively want to murder
Like in a
people.
movie or the cartoons where they drop a safe on somebody and they waddle away
Like
all
Itchy and
flat or
Scratchy,
something.
yeah.
Yes.
I Itchy and
So
Scratchy want to murder spoilers.
So one of the criticisms that I have heard about Romulus is that it's not doing something wholly original, and this is we can get into this movie. We'll eventually do it, and I think that's what the sequels to Alien, the original Alien, did. For good or bad, however you want to put it, people went out there and they wore it on their sleeve. And Fincher, in this case, right? It was David Fincher's movie, went out there and it was chopped up and stuff, and I think the studio took it away from him a little bit, but he was going for his own vision, and I think people wanted Aliens Part 2 and they didn't get that, and I think that's what kind of bothered him. I think it's got the season of a witch kind of thing to it. Let us know, tell us what you think. I hate rankings, but someday I want Shawn to rank all his Alien movies because in order. We'll get there. I want you to.
Romulus gets a 6.5 out of 10. It was all right.
Right. So I'll reserve judgment until I actually see the film. What's good about it is by the time I see it, I'll have forgotten a lot of the spoilers that I read, so that I can just sort of take it in. I've heard from a couple people who saw it. One person who said I would love it. You said I probably wouldn't like it. So we'll find out soon enough.
My buddy
But
had a great like he talked to me about it. He's like, I couldn't stand that they did this. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't even know that they did that until like he told me. And then I'm like, oh yeah, they did do that.
So while you were talking, I thought of two movies that I like that maybe people would make fun of me for
Okay.
liking.
Please
And
share.
yeah, one of them is the National Treasure movies, Nicolas Cage National Treasure films.
Okay.
Yeah, so silly, but like
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't know. There's something on the back of the Declaration of Independence, and we got to go here and open this thing. I don't know. It's like they're not very well made there,
Nick
but
Cage has his moments where he is
yes,
golden, and
yeah.
then he has his
And
other moments.
and then the other one is, and I wouldn't know if people dislike this movie or not, but when I never hear people talk about it, is Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow.
I enjoyed it. I definitely give it a
Yeah,
thumbs up.
yeah.
Definitely.
But that's one where you hear people say like kind of make comments about,
Yeah, I
but
think people crapped on it. Johnny Depp rules. Christopher Walken rules. Christina Ricci rules. Yeah, I'm all about it. I liked it. I think I have the Headless Horseman like toy. I think I stole it when I was at
Mhm.
KB Toys when one of my first jobs ever. But yeah, man, Alien 3, dude. Just it was the first movie I saw just because like I was too scared. It was already out on VHS tape, and I was like too scared to watch any of the Alien movies because I was too young. But all the toys were coming out, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I want these toys. They're awesome. And then I felt like a poser because I had the toys, but I had never seen the movie, and I was like, I gotta watch one of these movies. And at that time, the iconic image was the face next to Sigourney Weaver and the
Mhm.
little mouth popping out, and I'm like, this is the one. I gotta watch this one. And it was the first Alien movie I saw, and like I didn't know what the hell was going on because like it leaves you off after the second movie, and I didn't know what was
Mhm.
happening. So like things are just happening, but I didn't care because I'm like sitting there watching my first Alien movie, and I'm like, this is so cool. And then I've referenced it in I think our very first episode before Krampus when we were just doing our teaser episode that there was a moment in Alien 3. I think it's in the beginning when the guy's cleaning in the fan thing and he falls into the fan and his body explodes, and I had never seen a body explode, and I was like and I stopped the movie and I went outside and like went out to play, and I was traumatized. Like I was outside playing, but all I was thinking about was that dude exploding in the fan.
Mm.
Love Alien 3. I think it's a great movie. I watch it over and over, and I think I like the theatrical version. I like the director cut version. Let us know what you think on the socials at In Madness Pod, inmadnesspod@gmail.com. We're on YouTube. Check out the Spotify playlist. We're adding music to the Spotify playlist after this point five. I love these point fives. They're one of the prime reasons I get to add all this music to the playlist. We don't have to cover the movie. We could just bring it up on the point five and add it there. If you want a shirt, go to inmadness.com. You wanted to do some quick plugs before we do a tease for our potential next movie.
Yeah. Well, not potential. We're gonna do it. We're
All
doing
right.
it.
All right.
We're doing it. But I don't have
Zing,
the
what you
tease, so
should have zagged.
you better think
Yeah, I got
about
a
it.
tease. I got a tease.
But no, I just wanted to say if you follow me on social media, you might have seen it already, but I'm gonna be doing two rather big co-brands coming up. So I did a Terrifier t-shirt that will not only be available at my booth at Comic-Con, but it'll be available eventually online and at all Hot Topic stores. So these are pure co-brands with Vertebrae33 and Terrifier, and then the second one is a co-brand with John Carpenter's Halloween. So I had done the Halloween poster in the past. That was a licensed poster. Now this one is that similar image, my daytime horror, but I redrew it and it's got a different look to it. So we're releasing that artwork soon. That'll also be in Hot Topic in all stores, probably before Halloween. I think the beginning of October they'll start to get them, and I'll promote it a little bit. And then lastly, and I've already announced this too, I'm working with Mischief Toys, our buddies at Mischief Toys, to do some co-branding stuff. So I will have a poster, a pin, and a T-shirt at my booth for Mischief Toys, and I am next to them at Comic Con, so you'll be able to get the poster of their character
Sick.
and see what I did with it,
Sick.
and I can sign it for you if you'd like, or you could, they could sign it next door, and nothing. If you join me on Instagram Live, I drew on Instagram Live, and you saw a lot of the poster, but nobody has seen the pin yet, and nobody has seen the T-shirt. The character that we were doing has not been fully revealed for them yet, as well. So it's very exciting. We definitely got to try to get them on here. Mischief Toys. Go to mischieftoys.com and follow them. They are bringing the heat this year for Comic Con, and I'm going to be right next to them, And, the last thing with that is Shawn, that week at Comic-Con, Shawn will be there. He'll be there Saturday, October 19th. And he'll be there all day with me. He might run around and get people, get some interviews and probably try to hang out with John Carpenter and stuff if he's there. But he'll be there all day. We will have In Madness merch at the booth. I'll have it all weekend there, but we definitely want to get as many people coming by, and we can take pictures and we can hang out and talk about movies, whatever you want to do. But that's exciting, and we'll get into more Comic-Con as we get closer. But those were kind of three big moments for me that I'm teasing. And it's exciting to be able to work on artwork for these brands and have it be officially licensed and available in stores. So be on the lookout. Follow me at Vertebrae33 on all the socials. That was it for my plug.
I love our annual Comic-Con appearances. It makes my life hella easy if people just come by your booth saying that they listen to the pod instead of me running all over Comic-Con trying to find people to interview for the pod. But our last Comic-Con episode, 18.75, I think it was, is still one of my proudest episodes we've ever done. Shout outs to Sandy King, John Carpenter's wife, for taking part in that amazing episode. A close personal friend to the premiere podcast in Madness Pod. With that being said, to wrap up 33.5, shall we give a teaser for our next possible 3-part movie as well?
Yes.
You don't have anything. You don't have any teasers you want to give. You can't think of what.
I feel like any teaser I give is going to give it away.
Right.
But I don't know.
Right.
Perhaps, Shawn, we could just talk about the bonus situation.
Right.
There you go.
I think that's good enough. It was also recently the 45th anniversary. How about that? And with that, and I got Vertebrae out of the house to see it in theaters. And with that, and we went with Basil. Shout outs to Basil. And with that, we can wrap up episode 33. Right.
Right.
See you next week.